Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today we're back with tier list review. I wanted to go over the new changes, and especially since Hanya and Argenti just came out, I wanted to see where they ended up being placed and thought I'd share my thoughts on them. I did get to play with both of them for a few days now, and I also want to know, of course, what you guys think. I'd love to know all of your thoughts on the placements, and just as a community, what do we think about where characters are currently placed? Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So as you guys see, we are going to be on Pridewin's tier list per usual, and right off the bat, we're looking at single target. I noticed Daniel Don Honkai has dropped a tier. It definitely makes me wonder, I guess, why he dropped a tier, since I did get to play with him during the current MOC and I feel like he performed pretty well. But I do think it's interesting that currently Jingliu is the only character that is in S+ when it comes to a damage dealer perspective, which once again, I think that's really interesting. I think Jingliu though is definitely really strong. I feel like the release of Ho Ho also really helped with this, because I'm not sure if you guys have seen the video, but I did do a little showcase video that included Jingliu, Ho Ho, and Jing Yuan, which as you see, all of them are S+ characters for single target. I made this video just to showcase how Jingliu can basically stay in her Mara struck form for a very long time, due to her being able to get her ultimate back more frequently, which would give her a stack, which would allow her to stay in her form longer. So I could definitely see Jingliu being one of the top DPS characters for sure, especially with the releases of new characters. She's pretty strong in the current MOC as well, so that's always a plus. And as for Don Honkai, unfortunately, it seems like he did get dropped. I would love to know, do you guys feel like he deserved to have gotten dropped, or do you still think that Jingliu and Don Honkai are on the same caliber, the same tier? As we see though, the rest of them mostly stayed the same. I noticed Topaz did drop from S+ to S. This might be due to the MOC change, I would assume, since the last MOC definitely did favor our follow-up attackers. But I still think that when it does come to single target, Topaz is definitely in that S+ or S range, because Proof of Debt is just so amazing to use. And as we see, Hanya is a new character, and she is in S tier, and she's in S tier with E6, as we can see. I think Hanya is pretty good. She definitely fits her role pretty well for allow your team to have more skill points to use, which highly benefits characters like Zila, highly benefits characters like Don Honkai. Honestly, any characters that like using skill points definitely will benefit from Hanya, and Hanya can fit on a vast variety of teams. I will be releasing a video soon sharing my full thoughts on that, but in Hanya's case, I love also using her with like our physical attackers. She's really good, I noticed, with them, especially when you equipped her with the planetary light cone. So I think Hanya is definitely worthy of the S tier for sure. She's definitely a great pickup. As for our rest of our characters, our sustains are the same. I noticed Yukong did drop though, which I think is pretty interesting, because we haven't had an A tier amplifier, which is basically our harmony characters. We haven't had an A tier in quite a while, so I think it's interesting that Yukong dropped. Yukong is a bit more trickier to use though, as we know, because of how her skill kit works. The 2 turns that the buffs last, they're really strong buffs to have on a team. The crit rate, the crit damage, and the attack is really good. But once again, she is trickier to use, so your team needs to be really speed tuned to fit Yukong on there. And Yukong, in a way, she's really good with certain characters. Like, I think she's really good, honestly, with Don Honkai. She has a trace that improves imaginary damage, so our imaginary damage dealers definitely benefit from her. And she does fit her own role with specific characters. Like, I love Yukong and Clara. I think this combo is really strong, because Clara, as we know, is typically very slow. Because Clara is very slow, this allows you basically to just have Yukong's buffs available on Clara for quite a while Clara is getting hit from enemies. Clara will have these buffs on her still. So that's really strong in my opinion. I love that team personally. But yeah, I think Yukong just fits her own niche into teams that she fits very well with, and teams that she doesn't really fit too well on. So it just kind of depends on what team you're using her on. As we see though, not much has changed from the list. I noticed Himeko did drop down, unfortunately. The MOC last time was very favorable to our follow-up attackers. It seems like Jing Yuan unfortunately got the same treatment as well. I think Jing Yuan honestly could have stayed up though. I do think the follow-up set was pretty good for him. But when it comes to single target, I'm sure in the other tiers, he is probably an S tier, which I think is very valid to have him there. Then we have Clara. I personally love Clara. She's one of my favorite characters in the game, and I will always tell people I always think Clara is slept on. She's still an incredible character. Her own way of being able to sustain herself through reducing the damage she's taken and also having very powerful follow-up attacks is always a great thing for sure. But now that we've gone over the initial list, I would love to know what you guys think. Before we carry on, I thought I'd ask you guys, what is your favorite thing to do during the winter time? For me personally, it's watching a bunch of shows and also playing a bunch of games that are in my backlog. But there's no better way to do this than to have really tasty snacks. I present to you guys Tokyo Treat and Sakurako's Christmas-themed boxes for the month of December, and the boxes come straight from Japan to your doorstep. Tokyo Treat's Christmas box is called Snacktacular Christmas and has a bunch of snacks for you to pick from. Some of them being strawberry chocolate cake Kit Kats, Christmas cake gummies, and much more. As for Sakurako, they have milk and chocolate cookies, milk mochi, butter cookies, and you also get booklets for knowing about Japanese history and information about your tasty snacks. And make sure to check out my description down below to get your own Tokyo Treat or Sakurako boxes, or even get them for your loved ones since I'm sure they'll enjoy them as well. Thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's carry on. So when it comes to Blast, we have all of our characters here. Don Hongayel has dropped, as we can see though, he has dropped in every tier because he used to be, I believe, S+ in everything. Now he is S in everything. So I would honestly love to know the reason exactly why, because I don't know if I fully agree with that. I feel like he honestly could have stayed in S+, but that's just what I personally think on that. Argenti, as we can see though, is in S. I think Argenti is definitely worth being in S tier, and as we see in the AoE section, he is also an S+ for 4 to 5 targets, which is definitely accurate in my opinion, because Argenti, when it comes to AoE, is just so freaking powerful. He's able to get his crit rate stacks with Apotheosis very quickly, and he's just a powerhouse character. He's ultra strong. And we see Jing Yuan did drop, and Kafka also dropped. I don't know if I fully agree with Kafka dropping, honestly, because I feel like Kafka could definitely be in the S tier, and also Blade for sure when it comes to Blast, because I still think that Kafka is definitely worthwhile when it comes to dealing damage on an AoE perspective. Like the fact that for even with 4 to 5 targets, she's only A, I'm not really too sure if I agree with that, because I still think that damage over time teams, especially with the newer Relic set, damage over time teams are very strong. And I've said it in a previous video, but I feel like once we get another damage over time user that is a 5-star, I feel like Kafka stonks are just going to go all the way up, and she's definitely going to be, I feel like she's going to be a very top tier character at that point because of how unique her playstyle is and what she enables for teams. Jing Yuan dropped. Once again, I don't personally agree with that. I think he's pretty good when it comes to AoE. That follow-up set was really nice, but as we know, the last MOC was very favorable. Blade, I don't really agree with dropping. I think Blade was very strong. If we are looking at it from just a pure power perspective, I feel like, yeah, some of our DPS characters that are above deal more damage potentially, but the thing I will say about that is that when it comes to Blade's kit, he has his own sense of survivability with how he operates. So I think Blade is still an S tier character for sure in my personal opinion. And then as we see, Herta went up, which I think is very interesting, very cool to see. I've never seen Herta honestly go up in like forever, so this is really cool. Himiko unfortunately went down. I feel like she definitely could be an A, but that's just what I personally think. I think Himiko definitely got better as well. Our sustains, though, have stayed the same, which honestly, I think I'm okay with this. All of our S+ sustains are just all incredible, which I went into this more in depth in my last tier list review since this has remained the same. But yeah, I think this is fine. And with AoE, Clara is an S+, and so is Argenti. I personally love this. Clara, when it comes to just being an AoE damage dealer, is so freaking strong with her follow-up attacks. Even her skill can do really good damage as well, so I'm a huge fan of Clara being in this tier. Argenti definitely worth it, because 4 to 5 targets, Argenti just excels. But yeah, this is the tier list when it comes to Blast. Not much has changed. It seems like if they went down in the Blast section, they also kind of went down in the AoE section, unfortunately, as we could see with Blade. Kafka and Jing Yuan. I do like that Himiko is A in here though. Her follow-up attack's really, really good. So yeah. But let me know, what do you guys think of the tier list right now? Do you guys agree with the placements, or do you feel like some of the characters should definitely be higher? We can consider new relic sets for this. We can consider new teams. I would just love to know what you guys think, because I feel like some of these characters are definitely getting better depending on what MOC we have and the buffs that are in the MOC, but also the characters that we keep receiving, and also, of course, the relic sets really help as well. But yeah, just let me know in the comments down below if you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and I hope all of you have an awesome day like always. Peace.